always yelling.
I know, but that's. I'm just checking my mic. How's my mic?
That's how we're always clipping.
That's it.
It's still
Welcome back to the Center of Weirdness and the Nightmare 365 podcast. Stay spooky. I'm Greg, and that's Matt.
we're live on YouTube for sure.
There you go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Podcast 34. What do you want to? What should we call it?
Missing MH370 Malaysia air flight.
It's a long title.
Hey, whatever.
I'm putting it in.
I'm good with that.
I'll share it, and then we'll start the show.
Share it. Share it on Venmo.
This one's weird, man. I still can't wrap my head around it.
Why?
I don't know. The more missing, I'll put that in there, and I'll change it later.
Welcome to the Nightmare 365 podcast.
People are listening on YouTube. This is public.
Episode 34.
Up to missing.
Did you hear the theory aliens took the plane?
Yeah.
And it was flown to the moon?
I mean,
that's what they say.
I heard aliens did, but that was about it.
Maybe Bigfoot took it, put it in the caves.
You know, I love caves. This always takes forever. But we're good.
Sponsored by Voss Drinking Water today. Nightmare 365.
It's on you. Let me just share this.
Share it up. Share it up.
Podcast 34. Oh, yeah. I forgot you never wear the headphones.
Nope.
It's so sad, man.
Why?
People want to see you with the headphones
No,
on.
they don't. They don't give a shit about my headphones.
Yeah, they do.
Plus, I can hear the music when you play it through the headphones anyway.
What do you mean? You can't?
No, I can.
That's what I'm saying.
No, like when they're down here.
No, you can't. That's
Yeah.
a lie.
Something threw him down, dude.
What's that from?
What do you think it's from?
I didn't even hit record yet, so we have to do that too.
I'll go hit it right now.
It's good. It's not blank. It's
We're recording.
Just hope so.
Welcome back.
What if we never did that? What
Welcome
if we
back. Welcome back.
What if we did a whole show and it never recorded?
Did it really happen then?
I mean, I can get the audio the way we're doing it now.
Well, yeah, from YouTube.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll leave that here. We can control it. Let me just put this. We are. I feel like this one, out of most of the ones that we have done,
Yeah.
there's just so much to talk about.
JFK, there was so much to talk about.
That's true. Because there's so many crazy theories. All right. We're doing this, bro. I'll leave it up on there. I won't do all the clicking. I'll click here. And you want to take us away on this journey that we call the podcast?
You want me to? I'll start it off. Why'd you say it like that?
Well, people on YouTube can see it.
I know.
It's cool that we got two watching. There's
Are you watching? Who's that from?
I don't know what that's from.
Don LaGreca? ESPN?
Yeah, I don't listen to that show a lot.
Why not?
I like Don, but I don't like the rest of them.
You don't like Peter?
Peter's okay.
I don't like Peter.
I'm not a fan of Michael Keck, but no, people can watch on our YouTube channel and they can see all this. It's kind of cool if they can. And we have the live chat up so they could chat with us.
So what I wanted to start off with before we get into our episode today.
What?
Did you see what I tagged you in on Facebook?
No.
The Baltic Sea UFO. Sunken
yeah.
UFO.
I commented back. I wanted to do a weekday weird on that.
All right. We'll do a weekday weird on that.
Before we get started, too, anybody could listen to this. And if you have suggestions on this, our YouTube audience, if you're watching, before we get started with the show, our Halloween special for 2018. I've been thinking about this.
All right. What do you want to do?
I don't know.
Like an on-site location somewhere?
I would have to take all the equipment.
I think that would be badass, though.
Where can we go? I mean, I'll definitely do it. It's gonna take some lugging all this crap around, and we have to find some place.
It doesn't have to be anywhere like crazy.
I enjoy it. Did you enjoy it last year?
Yeah, it was good last year.
Last year, I thought it was fun. I remember just like waking up early, Halloween, getting all excited. It's like almost like Christmas for me.
Christmas.
Well, I just remember
Weren't
coming
you
here.
watching all the movies?
Yeah, I was dressed up. We came into the studio, did a recording. It was a bummer the way we had our setup before, not being able to like
Live
now I have
stream.
now I have like the webcam so I could bring somebody on. Like we had Leslie Benetine
Yeah, I remember
last
that.
year instead of just having almost like a recording session with her and then
You could
just
just have
playing
her
it.
live on it.
Yeah, and then now I could just, stream her in. I
That'd
think
be
it'd be
cool.
a lot cooler. But you're thinking like a live.
What would you want to do the topic about, though?
I don't know. I mean, something Halloweenish, something we could base it in New Jersey, but there's a park where Orson Welles in 1938. It was the day before Halloween.
I think it would be badass to do like a Penhurst, like the building in the background.
Go there.
Yeah. Or like even Eastern State, or think of like, well, Marlboro isn't open anymore. The
Well,
mental
what about
institution?
something like spooky New Jersey? There's a couple
the Dempsey
places.
House?
Yeah, that's there's one in Wall. I forget the name of it. It was like a psych ward for children that's closed down. But you can go back there. It's private property. You can get arrested for it. But
We're gonna do that from there.
no, I would try to find a place that we could do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm trying to think like who we can call to like get like permission to go somewhere to do it. I don't know. People could throw out different ideas. I think it would just be cool like to play maybe like even if we're in studio, dress up, play some clips, talk about I don't know, like every year I think we should do some type of Halloween special.
Did you see the movie The Quiet Place?
No, was that good?
No.
Really? It was bad?
Like I didn't see it, but like I've heard a bunch of people who have watched it heard it was bad.
To be honest, I haven't watched any horror movies in a while.
Since The Strangers 2.
Well, yeah, Strangers Pray at Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was probably the last one I saw. Just because we've been doing all these weekday weirds and like the podcast, so all I've been doing is immersing myself into like these episodes.
Sure.
So I don't know. I guess we should just start the show.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Do you wanna do the intro? But hey, our YouTube audience, if you're watching this before we start the show, little crap that we do before the show. Any suggestions on Halloween special? The Halloween special 2018. I think it'd be cool we're like known as like the dudes that just do Halloween specials. Like we did the Halloween special for 2017. This will be the second Halloween special, so I think we should do something cool.
All right, well, let's think about it. If our audience has suggestions, maybe
Yeah, write us in.
write it in. Facebook message us, Instagram message us, YouTube message us.
Yeah, there's plenty of places to contact.
Mail us.
Yeah, mail us. All right. You want to start the show? You want me to start the show?
Episode 34. Malaysia Air Flight 370. Is it missing or did it land somewhere?
I'm gonna put that in at the end.
Why?
I'm gonna cut that clip up and then just at the end,
Why?
like once the music stops, I'm gonna play that. All right, ready?
I just did it.
What do you mean?
That was it.
All right, we'll start it. We got to give a little bit of so I can clip it.
Just clip it.
Well, it has to be a little bit of silence.
Welcome to the Nightmare 365 podcast. I'm Greg with Matt.
That's right.
Episode 34, we are talking about Malaysia Air Flight 370 and what happened to it.
Mysterious flight that has never been found for 4 years. Yeah, we're going to talk about the back history on it. I guess give you a timeline for people that don't know, which I don't know if you're living now, how you don't know about this case, but we're going to talk about that. Let's just jump in. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always putting out weekday weirds every Wednesday for you.
I like this last weekday weird.
Injured Cold.
Yeah, I like that artist too that did it up nice.
It is good. I
Yeah.
linked it in the show notes so people could find that guy who did that artwork for that show. But yeah, every Wednesday, weekday weirds. They're just short podcast kind of topics we talk about, not dedicated a whole hour to it. It's a spooky day outside too. It almost feels like fall
It does.
with the weather out. But
So about 4 years ago,
Oh,
right?
we're jumping right into it.
Jumping right into it.
We're not even getting our intro. People love the intro now.
Oh yeah, I love the intro music.
Yeah, why don't you put your headphones on? We'll play the little intro and we'll jump into it.
All right,
Yeah. And all of our information, as always, is found at nightmare365.com. Let's give you a little intro before we start the show. Just music. Welcome to Nightmare 365.
This is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
There's tons of unsolved mysteries out there. Witches still exist.
What about monsters?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Bigfoot is not out there.
Bigfoot is definitely out there. UFOs are real.
UFOs might be real.
Do you believe in conspiracies?
I consider myself a conspiracy theorist.
I want to believe in all these case files.
Trust no one. The government lies to you.
We're just two brothers exploring the unexplained, mysterious, and spookiness that lives among us. Dude, it is coming down out there.
Malaysia Air Flight 370.
Yeah. This one, doing all the research and doing everything to prep for the show.
Makes you not want to fly?
Well, it was weird because I never had a fear of flying when I was younger.
No, you don't.
As I've gotten older, I guess I realize what death is and I don't want my time to run out so quickly. I mean, I will fly. I still do it. And I mean, you do it a lot more than I do.
Yep.
And you probably have a lot more experience in saying, like, when we talk to anybody on the show. So say if like somebody had a guest on the show and we're like, we have an expert.
Sure.
You could be an expert pretty much on like flying in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I have over 2 million airline miles, so.
Yeah. And for me, I always try to give enough, about myself away, but I also don't want to, like, this one's kind of creepy enough where I don't know if you want to discuss everything that you do fully.
No.
But you definitely have enough experience with this. And this Malaysian Airlines flight, like you said, 370, that went missing.
March 8th, 2014.
Yeah, so it's been 4 years.
Yeah, a little over 4 years, yeah.
And counting. And
they still haven't found.
I did some research,
Mm-hmm.
but how many flights go missing?
Not many.
Yeah.
I think they're like the top 10 like missing. Like the longest one was 7 years, I think. It was the Air France flight out of Brazil going to Paris.
Right. And
before they recently found that, like, I think 6 years after, 2012, I think.
I mean, I'm just pulling up a list of missing aircraft on Wiki.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just go. I could pull it up on the screen so you could see it too. But yeah, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, but see, a lot of those are back in the day when,
a lot of when they first started flying,
like 1919.
I mean, one of the big
Amelia
ones,
Earhart.
that was a huge one, which that could be either a podcast or a weekday weird.
Probably a weekday weird because I don't think there's enough there for a podcast. Because people just think she just took off and tried to come back to that same airfield and crashed in the sea. They just never found the plane.
Yeah, but people also say that she was like taken prisoner.
Yeah.
And people have witnessed seeing her. So that one's a little creepy. One of them's an what do they call airships?
Yeah,
They're
one of
just
those blimps type deals.
Zeppelis. Is that what they're really called? But so the list isn't long.
No, but it's all like,
and it all predates pretty much like modern aviation too. So that was the kind of thing that I thought about when we, started this topic, like how many really go missing. And what I really want to start off with is obviously giving everybody a backstory on this, because it's been in the mainstream news for how long? For the last 4 years, pretty much.
Correct.
Obviously now it's been dissipated, but there's enough out there where I don't think there's enough YouTube videos and all this stuff that is out there where if you were, I don't know, not privy to this information, you can be. But yeah, I don't know. Where do we actually start? Let's give it like a timeline.
Yeah, so
on this.
March 8th, it took off from Malaysia and it was going to
Beijing, China,
which is only like a 6-hour flight.
Right.
So think about going to like East Coast, a little bit past the West Coast.
Yeah, they took off pretty much midnight. It was like a red-eye flight.
Yeah.
Like at 12:41, I think it actually was given clearance to take off. And
there was 227 people on board, 12 crew members.
So total of 239.
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, this was supposed to be a short flight.
Yeah, 6 hours. And then
it had enough fuel, right? Because I think it's 3,000 miles or whatever. Or no, it had enough for 3,000 miles of fuel, but it was only going like 2,600. So it had plenty of fuel for this flight. So there shouldn't have been a problem with that.
Nope. And then so it takes off from Malaysia going to China, and 38 minutes after takeoff, which isn't long at all. So think about like if you took off from New York City, that's that's not even like to Philadelphia.
Yeah,
where they lost like.
And you're climbing, right? So like they were trying to climb to a cruising altitude of what, 35,000 feet?
Yeah, roughly 35,000 feet.
Yeah.
And if most people don't know, the transponders like which that show up on air traffic control radar or any type of military radar, the transponder gives like how big the flight is. So it was a Boeing 777, and then it will say like MH370 underneath for its tag sign.
Right.
So you can turn that off.
Okay.
So you don't. So the radar doesn't pick up like who you are.
Why would you turn that off?
Exactly.
Well, that was the whole thing, right?
And that's not that's not an accidental thing. You have to actually plug that into like almost like a keyboard in the middle of the console up at the cockpit.
So if people don't know, like after this flight took off, it started on its regular normal track.
Yep, north, east.
Yeah, and after it was leaving Malaysian airspace,
going off over the China Sea,
they kind of had to say goodnight. And then what was it, like the Vietnamese? They would have to make contact with them.
Yeah, so it's like when you're flying, right? You get passed off from one radar station to another. So that's what was happening.
Because there's only so much capability with these ranges. Which,
correct.
Looking from it from the outside, as far as what I did, and just saying like, all right, I didn't realize that this was the case. Like I guess I never thought about it, but at the same time, looking at it and saying, oh crap, we're leaving America and now somebody else is kind of taking over our communications with the pilot.
Sure.
I just never thought about it that way. And just, it seemed the more research I did, just the amount of technology that is not there for the capability of tracking planes, for the capability of communicating with planes, for like the black boxes. Because I always thought these black boxes were indestructible.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I know they are, but they only, what was it?
You're thinking of the ping.
Well, no. I'm talking about, because, I mean, this is jumping ahead, but when they're looking for the black boxes, they only have a battery life that is, cuts off here.
Yeah, no, that's for like the ping, the ultrasound, so you could pick it up if it's underwater. So if the black box touches water, right, this ping starts to go off so you can find it with like acoustics with your...
But other than that, the black box should be there intact.
Yeah,
no matter
so
what.
let's say they find this aircraft whenever.
Yeah.
It will still be, you can still read the flight recorder.
Okay. But it just seemed like a lot of stuff that, and just backtracking it to 9/11, right? 9/11 was 17 years ago. You would think that they would have a lot more technology advances where we would be able to not like, all right.
Well, they turned off their transponders too during 9/11.
Yeah, why didn't they think about this? Like, all right, well, what if this happens again and they turn off their transponders and we don't know where the hell they are?
Well, technically, in the engines, you can track them.
Right, because this was kind of tracked by the military.
So yeah, 38 minutes after takeoff, like they said goodnight to like the one air traffic control.
The Malaysian.
Yep, and then a couple minutes later, it dropped off of radar. Like civilian radar.
Civilian, yes.
However, it was tracked by military radar for another hour.
Right.
So, like, you can still track it. It'll show up as a blip on the radar. You just don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, that's weird, too, that they don't have the capability of knowing what it is. But even where the story kind of gets crazy, too, is because all these different countries have different defenses, right? And different, like, they want to give up certain technology, but they want to keep a lot a secret.
Yeah.
And this was a really weird thing where it was passing through so many different airspaces at the time that they didn't want to give up certain things. Like, you're just trying to find a plane. Like, why can't,
we work together?
All governments work together, and people want to talk about being like global, no borders, all this other crap. But then we can't work together to find like a missing plane. But getting back to the plane, like you said, it turned off, its transponder, and you said
you have to plug. That's not something like you like flip a switch like, oh, I accidentally pushed that. It's you have to plug in like a number.
And this is where the kind of plot thickens, as they say.
Why? I mean, probably like thinking like a while before that.
Well, not to jump ahead and talk about like conspiracies right away, but this could be also something like there's a fire or there's some kind of mechanical malfunction that they would need to do this. Because when I was reading reports, people talk about like that. They said like, all right, there would only be a couple reasons that they would really turn this off, like deliberately because they were going to do something really bad, or if something was really going wrong and they're trying to like shut all the electrical off, so they
but still that wouldn't shut off your transponder.
I don't know, it's weird. But and then now, like after they did this, when civilian, they couldn't track them, they weren't making their hand or whatever they were, like communications,
like every so often you check in with air traffic control. But they tracked it on.
Made it a left turn. It basically, like, instead of going north, now it just kind of slightly went west and then started going to the south.
Yeah, it came back over Malaysia, like the northwestern side of Malaysia.
Well, experts were talking about this too, and just saying, like, if there was a fire, that would be a logical turning point.
Correct.
Instead of going, like, to the right, because they would have to go over, like, mountains, and if something went wrong, they would crash in the mountains. So at first it didn't really look, I guess, suspicious, but now, like, all right, they made that turn and they're going now south away from their destination. And you could talk better about this than I can, about how a flight has a preset like recording, right? Because if they're in autopilot, it just goes on this course.
9 times out of 10, like you plug in like the heading you want the flight to go, what altitude and what everything, and it just flies itself. Like you ever watch a show like Why Airplanes Crash?
No.
The couple of the main reasons why airplanes do crash is because like the pilots are so inexperienced of flying that they do something like totally like stupid, like either put down the flaps or put up the flaps, and they don't really think about it.
It feels like it's always human error.
9 times out of 10 it's human error. Like remember the in the 90s, like the flight crash in the Florida Everglades?
Yeah.
That was human error. The guy like put down the flaps and they didn't know.
Do you think like flights now, this has to be a big change
They
globally.
even have like auto landing. You don't even have to land the plane. I've been on a couple of flights, where the pilot was like, all right, we're gonna do auto landing.
Really? They say that?
Yeah.
And then what
It's
people
just
look around?
No, it's just very smooth.
I'm sure we won't even need pilots anymore after, like soon.
I mean,
eventually.
You have to.
In case something goes wrong?
Yeah.
And you kind of, they were saying this on a couple of documentaries I watched. Like, you have to have some type of pilot if something really happens, to go through the checklist. And you would want to do a lot of stuff manually rather than let the computer take over. Mm-hmm. But, so this flight was now on a different course heading south.
It was going towards the Indian Ocean now.
And which a strange thing was, and like we get back into like with the crew members and everything, and like the pilot himself, and Zahari Shah, and he was from Panay, and supposedly like when they were going now south, the plane did something really weird. It was zigzagging almost in like different airspaces, and they said this would be a way for them not to be detected.
Sure.
And then he made, or whoever was controlling his plane, almost made like a right turn. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. I'll share this documentary. It was a 60 minutes, whole, I wouldn't say it's a documentary, 60-minute show where like the one guy was talking about how he used to fly planes just like this gentleman, Shaw. Sure. And when he would go into Australia, they would do a certain turn and he would tell people like, look out the window. This will be a volcano,
sure,
so people could take pictures. And
they do that a lot of times, like over like Las Vegas, you can see the Strip or the Hoover Dam or the Grand Canyon.
They'll tell you like, all right,
yeah, look out the side of the window. You'll see like Michigan. You'll see this. You'll see that.
Well, this is where it gets a little. Now we're getting into like something happened, right? Now, first thoughts could be, and they weren't even tracking this, so how the hell do they know?
Well, later they can go back and see where it went,
right?
And piece it together.
And that's what they ultimately did with this flight, because it was not on radar. And I guess if it was in the U.S., they would have fighter jets now, like right at its spot.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I think if a plane doesn't respond within like 20 minutes, yeah, the fighter jets will. So if you're ever on a flight and you see like a fighter jet at your wing,
something's going down.
Yeah, it's not a good day.
Now, just getting off that, like we know now it turned off its transponder.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is where like it's tricky for me, because how does nobody know about this, or how does nobody report this? It's like, all right, well, now it's not showing up. Now
I'm sure there's chain of command where like the air traffic controller's got to be like, all right, this guy went off radar. Like, let's find out. Let's try to contact them. Let's try to raise them. Let's see what's going on.
And I guess it's different because I don't know. I never been to Malaysia. I don't know how they operate, but supposedly they had a great track record of these planes. Like they don't really crash.
Well, one got shut down over Russia.
Well, that's a whole nother story. And if you want to go down the conspiracy theories, which we will, but that's a whole, topic on its own.
Sure.
But from what I saw, like this Malaysian Airlines has some of the lowest, defects, crashes, any kind of safety issue that can go.
Mm-hmm.
They have, I think it was like 0.004 or something. It was like one of the lowest. So, could it be now something mechanical going on?
Well, if you look at the pilot, right? We're going to look at him.
Yeah, let's look at him. So
he didn't have which I find weird, is he was flying since 1989.
In the 80s, yes.
Yeah, I think it was 89 or 81. I'm not really sure. Flying for a long time.
Yeah, he was a cadet and a pilot in like 81, and after training he received, his license.
Yep.
Yeah, in like the late 80s.
Yeah, 89. And so he's had hundreds upon hundreds of hours.
20,000 miles or hours.
Yeah, 20,000 hours. That's a long time.
Okay.
How many days is that, you think?
I don't know.
Let's do the math real quick.
And he's 53 years old.
Yep, 53, never had a problem.
Never had a problem till now.
Mm-hmm.
And
so it's 833 days he was flying. Like if you flew straight, obviously.
That's a long
time flying.
So we know he's a seasoned vet. He knows what he's doing, right? I don't think like how often, here's another thing, how often do crew members go for like psych evaluations? Or
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their policy is on that.
Not even that, like, because I always thought about it even like traveling when I went to Australia, and I'm like, it's a long ass flight.
Yeah. And
then you're sitting there, and you're just a passenger.
See, on like the long flights though, it's kind of weird. So
they have shifts.
Yeah, there's probably 4 pilots on those long flights.
Okay.
Like when I went to India, there was 4 pilots, and
okay.
2 of them would rest in the bunk rooms, while 2 of them were up there.
That's pretty sweet.
And they would rotate.
Right.
So they wouldn't get tired. Like same with the cruise. Like the large cruise, yeah, they go to sleep for a couple hours.
And then come back.
Then they come back, yeah, and they work. On the shorter flights, like, cross country, you have 2 pilots. So,
And this one had 2 pilots, right? It had just a regular pilot and the co-pilot.
Yeah, the co-pilot, like I think
he was 27 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a first officer.
Yep.
I'm not even going to pronounce his name. I'm going to screw it up. I'm bad with names as it begins with. And yeah, he joined the Malaysian Airlines as a cadet in 2007, the co-pilot.
Yeah, so 7 years prior.
Right.
So he had a experience as well.
Yeah.
Not as much as like the pilot, but
no, he became a second officer though, and so this was like, I guess, his last training flight.
Yeah, it sucks.
Before
he becomes a
regular full-blown pilot. Yeah, it doesn't say how many hours Oh yeah, he had about 3,000 hours.
So that's still a decent amount.
Yeah, it's not as many as like 20,000, but
no, but it's still a decent amount, man.
Okay.
So, what I find interesting about this pilot, though,
right,
is he had a flight simulator in his house.
Yeah, is that common? I don't know.
I don't think so. Why the hell would you have, dude? If you flew for a living, I don't know. You want to practice your flights? Like, I don't get it.
I mean, maybe if you're like obsessed with it.
I guess.
I'm
but
just thinking about somebody like me, right? Like, as much as I love this stuff, I eat, breathe, and crap Halloween.
yeah.
But I guess I always have my stuff too. So I could see if you found a career where it was like your career, like your passion, I could see that. But yeah, that's
So like
kind of odd.
Yeah, but like you spend hours upon hours in that cockpit, and then like you're gonna go home and spend hours like
He's perfecting his craft, right?
I guess so. Or you can.
I mean, I'm only looking
you can
at it
look
like
at it
that.
that way, right? But when they looked into the flight simulator,
This was weird. Yes.
he had multiple flight like simulators. Like he simulated multiple flights, like this, like direct route that he actually took
For this
on
plane.
March 8th. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really weird. If you're looking at it now from just a logical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
from what I gather, you have to manually, like you said, somebody has to turn this off. It's
Yep.
not like something like, all right, now it's just automatically shut off.
No.
Like somebody has to do this, and now it's banking. It's now going south. We know about the crew members. He had a flight simulator in his house that had the same exact route that he just did.
Here's my only question though.
Okay.
If we're gonna go down that road that he did this,
Right.
does he kill the co-pilot, or is this co-pilot? See, that's like what I don't.
Well, here's one of the questions that I had, right? And I don't know how it works, or if you're able to kind of, some people handle different stress
Sure.
differently. So what they were saying, because I was like, how does nobody on board make a phone call, do something?
They probably didn't know what the hell's going on.
Right. I'm sure.
He went too high and like knocked all the passengers out.
Well, that's what they were saying. They were saying like depressurize the cabin.
Yep.
Everybody kind of like has this, you just get knocked out.
Yeah, you just go to sleep.
And so everybody's asleep, but then whoever's in that, room with you driving the plane,
They would have to have the oxygen mask on.
yeah, they would have to be in on it.
Yep.
Or you would have to like eliminate that threat.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of got weird, and I didn't see a lot of people like news or anybody talk about that aspect of it, where
No,
they say like, all right, if it was a pilot that was on a mission to like kill him and like a murder suicide, then
I mean, I could see why the mainstream media wouldn't pick that up. Would you want to set off panic like every time you fly? You're gonna think about
that's
like,
one of the first questions I would have. Like, all right, how did this guy get away with this, and like nobody make like a phone call like, holy shit, we're like going too high, or we're going too low, or
I don't know. Think about it. Like when you fly, right? Like I fly a lot. Like when they make adjustments in the plane, like yeah, you feel it, but like
you don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. People look out the window and like, oh,
yeah, and plus they were this was a red eye flight, right?
Yeah, so it's overnight, so you don't have no depth perception, no perception.
It's just
black.
You look out and it's darkness.
Yeah, you can look straight down at the ocean.
I'm sure
the
a lot
ocean
of
could be
people-
like 2 feet away from you. You wouldn't see it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people were sleeping.
Yeah,
because I remember taking off from L.A., going to Auckland, New Zealand,
mm-hmm.
and when we were taking off, it was at night, and I just remember seeing like the lights from the city in L.A. and just
black
darkness,
Yeah.
and it just the further we got, you just saw nothing.
Yeah,
So I understand that where like, but I feel like after a while, like because when this plane is flying south, after from all the pings that it did, and I guess we could tell people what that is. Really, it's like handshakes, right? It's just like a signal that says like I'm still alive.
yeah.
And it sent it up, and it was the INSAT radar, or
Correct.
the company that had, like the technology, a satellite that was tracking this, not intentionally, but it was just tracking this plane because it was still doing the handshakes.
Correct.
So it's like just saying like it was a heartbeat. And that's where they knew, or how long it flew after it made the turn.
Yep.
And heading south, and they said it flew for another what, 6 hours?
6 hours, yeah.
So well beyond the time that it really should have taken for the normal flight, because the normal flight was like 6 hours. So this was
so
already,
that's like another thing too. Like, okay, the people, like the crew members, had to either have been killed or like knocked out, because they would know what the hell's going on.
yeah. After a while, you're like, all right, this flight only takes 6 hours. Now we've been on the plane for 7.
And like you fly, so like you see time to destination. You see the map of where the plane's going.
And is that automatic? Like, so say if this happened, right?
I mean,
I remember
they
that
could
screen.
turn that feature off.
Okay.
So I don't know if they did, but
yeah,
if you were smart enough, yeah, you would.
That was one of the first questions I had. Like, how did nobody on the plane not say anything, not do anything, not like just report like a phone call to like a loved one saying, hey.
Yeah, but even if you turn your cell phone on, depending on like where you are, you ain't gonna get service.
You don't think so?
Nope.
I feel like, see, that's where like the technology lacks when they were talking about on different documentaries where they would have.
Well, now there's Wi-Fi on board, but like on United, I know there's Wi-Fi on board, so
okay.
But that has to be working.
Right.
But you can turn that Wi-Fi off as well.
I guess now, yeah. And see,
So
this is where like it gets scary for me because there's so much limitations that I never realized about flights.
Yeah.
Now, before I did this, episode,
Okay.
I didn't realize like, all right, after a certain, amount of hours, the ping stops in the black box.
I think it's like a little over a month.
That's crazy.
I think like 45 days or so. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
but
I think it's like 30.
Yeah.
I think what the people were saying were like 30.
Okay.
But that's weird in itself. And then just like the way we track planes like internationally now,
Yeah.
I think I would fly, domestically where we live in the States, but then like getting like in places like this now, just hearing like how this was handled, because even when this plane went missing, right? Like it was supposed to show up in the morning.
It didn't.
At like whatever time it was, and all the loved ones are there, and it didn't. And then they just said, it was going to be delayed.
Well, yeah, because they don't know what the hell's going on.
Right. And then all of a sudden they were like, well, we don't know where the plane is.
Yeah.
And then people started like crying and panic.
Well,
and you
no
saw a lot of
shit, yeah.
shit, right? But then this is where like hits, like there's so much that the public isn't told that they kind of know. And then there's just so much information that they don't even know. Because just like the limitations on the technology for the planes and tracking and all this other crap. So it was flying for 6 hours that we know of, in a south direction. And
all right, yeah. So
nobody was dispatched. And that's where it kind of got. Yes, if you want to look at it logically, this is scary enough just to say like the limitations on technology of.
Well, they probably weren't looking like so. The military doesn't communicate with regular air traffic control unless something's like really going on.
Maybe they should.
Well, maybe they should, but. So you figure the regular air traffic control just doesn't see it, so they don't know where to dispatch anybody. They don't know what the hell's going on with the plane. So, but I don't know. I think it's interesting, like of who was on the plane, of like a couple other theories of like why,
Well, yeah, let's talk about that because there's only so much. Like we know this plane was going in the wrong direction in the Indian Ocean, and who the heck knows, right? And one of the things that didn't get a lot of, which they talked because they identified the people, but there was 2 passengers that got on board this plane with stolen passports.
Which I don't think is a big deal.
You don't think how many?
No.
How many times do you think that actually happens?
Yeah, it happens stolen IDs happen all the time.
Okay, so we look at that. We look at these two guys that get on the airplane, and
they were probably just getting away from like whatever situation they were going.
Right. And even the authorities ruled them out. Like they looked into everything and they said that this was not a threat. This was not terrorism, nothing. And
I don't think that's that big of a deal. Like that happens all the time. Like people steal like identities and passports and any badges, credentials just to escape
but now the plane is missing for 4 years. And,
I mean, that's an inconvenience or like a big coincidence, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, so we could kind of rule them out right away.
Yeah.
And one of the other...
Because, like, let's say when you hijack a plane, you either want something or want publicity.
True.
So you wouldn't fly in the middle of nowhere and, like, dump it in the ocean.
Well, one of my things, too, which this brings up to another theory, is, and people believe this, where the military, the United States military took this plane. Well, took the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And escorted to Diego Garcia.
Yeah.
Because it had some type of technology or people on the plane that had some type of technology that they didn't want to get in the hands of the Saudis and the Chinese.
Yeah.
So that was one big theory. And I remember when this was happening and this theory was going around, I was like, holy shit, I wonder if you see this plane pop up somewhere in the next couple of years, like
That
hit
would be-
another building.
That would be awesome. Like if it popped up somewhere, like, hey, we're back.
Well, yeah, but what if they flew it into like another world trade or something? Like
I don't know if they would do that.
now you can't, like, it's not like a regular plane, right? Now it just takes off from some military base and now it's just going to nosedive into the White House or something.
I mean, that sucks, but that will never happen though.
True. Maybe not again.
No, because I know
Shit,
measures.
you know shit.
So that, I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know if it's plausible, but that's kind of like an interesting theory. Like the military would be like, all right, let's go. You're coming with us.
Just because they had some type of tech. And I don't rule this one out just because of the fact that
you never know.
Like I can see like military, even the United States, doing something like this.
Yeah, I mean they do a lot of stuff which people don't even realize or even think about. Like, did you ever see the Safe House movie with Denzel Washington and what's his face?
It sounds familiar.
The guy from
I love Denzel.
Deadpool. What's his name? Matt Reynolds.
Oh,
is that
Ryan
him?
Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Like they did a whole movie like of Safe House. It was CIA safe houses like everywhere,
and they just do.
I mean,
crazy shit.
They have that. They have like CIA black sites.
We did a weekday weird on the CIA death gun.
Yeah, so they have like, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. And they're like, let's talk about their technology.
Okay.
From that company.
I'll pull the company up, and this is where it gets weird because there's a lot of different theories on this.
Which is this a coincidence or is this, tie into like why the plane's missing?
Well, it gets crazy because the Freescale, this company that's been in, I guess, production for many years now.
Yeah, it's from Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and they're worth billions of dollars. Like their annual income now is $765 million, but their like revenue is $4.6 billion in the United States. Their net worth is $251 million, and supposedly there was four. I heard
the guys who hold the patent on this technology,
right? And I'll pull up that article too because we have that. But this was just an article, so they have the names. So 4 days after the missing airline, Malaysian flight, there was patent holders, and 4 of the 5 patent holders are Chinese employees of Freescale, out of Austin, Texas, and they all. Yeah, four of them were divided up with 20% shareholders.
Yeah, so people think like they killed them on purpose or they killed the flight on purpose because of these people. Because if they die, the sole survivor gets all the rights to the patent.
Yeah, and supposedly Rothschild is connected into this, and that's a whole other big conspiracy people believe, with the Rothschilds like controlling the world. So
the technology that these guys came up with for patent, it almost looks like to me like a honeycomb type deal.
It is. It's like this.
It's stronger
material than steel.
It's stronger than steel, but as thin as like saran wrap, wax paper, tinfoil, whatever you want to say.
It's crazy, right?
Like that's awesome. Like think about that, and like people think like if that technology came like to mass production, it would change the world.
Yeah, and supposedly why these shareholders were all together on the flight is because they were traveling to China to have like some kind of conference or meeting with the Chinese or somebody that was there to kind of, I don't know, like give them the technology or show them or,
I don't know, if you hold the patent, you probably want to sell it to them or sell like the product to them maybe. I don't know.
And you definitely can't write this out just because out of the 239 people that were on board, 4 of the shareholders there, they're dead.
I mean, is it a coincidence? I don't know.
I was trying to find more about them. It's tough. And see, this is where I feel like it's really tough doing this kind of stuff because you never know what to believe. You know what I'm saying? Like I try to look as much up as possible.
Yeah, but there's only so much research, so many articles, so much everything that you can look at.
No, I know. And just doing like Google searches of just, one of the patent holders, right? And there's all this crap that comes up. Like did the 4 patent holders die in the Malaysian, some people say they didn't. Some people said they weren't on the flight. Some people,
well, that's like 9/11. Like, oh, this person got off the flight. This person's not on the flight. Like, come on.
I know. And then you were telling me, which I didn't hear, but
What?
you were saying that there was this extra person on the flight that wasn't supposed
Yeah,
to
I
be
read
there.
it. I read it. Like one of the documentaries that I was listening to, and I read that there was an extra person on the plane, but they didn't know who it was. But I don't see that plausible because they count every person that goes on that plane. And if you're like they miscount by one, they go out and physically count like every person on that flight.
Yeah, this one's weird. So if this is true about the patent holders for this free scale company that is worth millions that we
Yeah.
just saw, like I could see people doing, like, people are fucked up, right? And
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
like, if you're saying like me and you are shareholders and we brought somebody in to be another shareholder and we all divide it evenly 20% between five of us, that's 100%. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, me and you, we want to get these guys, rid of these guys, just so we could have a little bit more money in our pockets. Like, people
This
are
almost
that
reminded
ruthless.
me like the movie Eraser.
It does.
I don't know why, but it just does
Well,
because of the fact that like they had like
People believe this theory too because if you go back to the Titanic, it does have connections, which I didn't know this.
I don't think it ties the Titanic. It's
No, it
just
doesn't.
similar in
Yeah.
fact that there's no way, first of all, that you could predict or like control like the Titanic sinking. I don't.
Well,
think.
that's a whole nother I think we should do an episode on that.
The Titanic.
Well, just about that conspiracy. And if people don't know, like, supposedly JP Morgan had these three other guys that were on this board who were against opening this Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve. Yeah.
And he wanted to with a number of other gentlemen. And they were like, all right, well,
the three other richest people pretty much in the world.
right, at the time. And they were going on the Titanic. And supposedly JP Morgan and a couple other guys were going on the Titanic as well. And they said, you know what? I financed the Titanic. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to have these people like crash. Which, all right, think about this.
I mean, it makes sense, like in theory, yes. But people come up with some outlandish crap, though.
No, they do.
That you could justify anything.
But think about this, right? Think about if you have a whole flight of 239 people.
Yeah, what better way to hide it?
Yeah, by killing these four people.
It's like Jack Reacher.
Right. We want to
Right?
kill these four people. Oh,
Or
yeah,
so-
it is like that movie, Jack Reacher.
I'm going to kill everyone else to make it seem like it was just a random killing.
Right. But
Or a
we,
random
But
thing.
we really
But
wanted
like, then here's my thing that I keep going back to
Okay.
is if you're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to get the pilot in on it, whatever.
Yeah, why would
Wouldn't you-
he agree to like kill himself?
Not only that, but like, wouldn't you make it more public? Like, let's crash it. Like,
You would.
so it like,
No, that makes perfect sense.
so you can actually like see the wreck. Sorry, you could see the wreckage. You can't just like don't know where the hell the plane is. Like that's what I come back to.
I would agree. Yeah.
Like I get that theory. It makes sense. It's plausible.
Right.
But then you would make it more public. Same with like a hijacking. If it was a hijacking, they want something, they'll communicate, or they'll like run it into a building, or run it into whatever,
And then take credit for it,
And
which
take-
they
yeah,
never
and
did.
Take credit for it, yeah, and no one did.
No, I think you're totally right on both of those. So I just think this one's weird, and the whole connection to free scale, and then like the Titanic. That's just a coincidence that
Yeah,
like
well,
this
just
was
like
kind of very similar to
Yeah.
the Titanic situation. Which, hey, maybe we'll do a show or a weekday weird on it eventually.
It's like a Kevin Bacon.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. What were the like? Yeah, a lot of people. What about the alien theory?
That's funny to me. That the aliens took it and flew it to the moon.
I didn't hear that, but like, what about the that phone call that was going around, or the text message?
Oh
or
yeah,
the
let's
creepy...
play that phone call because like if not many people know about that, there was I don't know what year it came out. There was a guy on Twitter, who got a mysterious voicemail, and this one like kind of the guy who I watched and like what I read about it made sense of it. Like with all the hacking that's been going on and all the everything, like he went through like a list of like all the hacking and like all the messages, random messages that people got. Like look at Hawaii, right? They had that missile, like
Right.
oh, there's a missile incoming. Like they thought that was a hack. There was another like hacking like situation where people got messages on their phone. So they think this is like similar.
Do you want me to? I could share the guy's video that you shared. We could share that in the recommendations.
Yeah, but just play a little bit of the voicemail.
Let me see. I don't know if this is it.
And like what most people don't.
Alpha.
All right, here it is. I didn't know if it was going to play.
Yeah, so like a little backstory in this. This guy on Twitter got a voicemail, and it's phonetic.
The phonetic alphabet that just gives you
like the military
numbers
uses.
and
So
letters.
like when you say like alpha, that means A.
Right.
Okay. So it goes through the whole voice message, and what it says, we'll say that at the end,
Right,
of
so-
what it actually says, and it gives coordinates. And the coordinates are where the flight made that left-hand turn.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's a
but-
very big coincidence.
right. It is, and then but people were saying like depending on where you put the decimal point,
Sure.
it could change drastically.
Sure, but like to have that,
Okay, you want me to play it?
yeah, play it.
All right, let's see. It's playing now.
Sierra. Delta. Alpha. November. Golf. Echo. Romeo. Sierra. Oscar. Sierra. India. Tango. India. Sierra. Delta. India. Romeo. Echo. Foxtrot. Oscar. Romeo. Yankee. Oscar. Uniform. Tango. Oscar. Echo. Victor. Alpha. Charlie. Uniform. Alpha. Tango. Echo. Bravo. Echo. Charlie. Alpha. Uniform. Tango. India. Oscar. Uniform. Sierra. Tango. Hotel. Echo. Yankee. Alpha. Romeo. Echo. November. Oscar. Tango. Hotel. Uniform. Mike. Alpha. November. 042933964230. Sierra. Oscar. Sierra. Delta. Alpha. November. Golf. Echo. Romeo. Sierra. Oscar. Sierra.
So like, what if you got that voice message?
I'd be like, what the like right now? I got the chills. Just
Why?
well, because I remember when this first came out, and like this was first on Twitter and social media and was going around. It was like a big buzz.
Could this be a hoax though?
Of course, but
So
at the same time, when if I got that, I'd be creeped out. I'd be like, why am I getting this?
So what it reads if like you type out the phonetic alphabet and you type out the words of what it actually says. Do you have that in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me. I mean, it's a warning.
Correct.
Let
It
me-
says
let
like
me see if I can
S
find
danger SOS.
It's I should have pulled it up when we were like just listening to it, but
I thought
wanted
you did.
I wanted to listen to it, and just because I do remember it, but I wanted to hear it fully again. Let me see if this was the correct one.
Yeah, it's S danger SOS.
It literally translates to danger SOS. It is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautious. They are not human.
That's
SOS danger SOS. Then gives the coordinates,
correct. Yeah.
which, you know, if you look at it and depending again where you put the decimal point, it is right where the plane made its turn.
Correct.
Dude, right like now I'm getting chills just even thinking about it.
And here's like I don't know if you want to bring this up, but the guy who
Received it. His name was like Ty
no.
on the
But
thing.
remember
Oh.
remember we were talking about the email that we got or that Facebook message?
Yeah.
Do you want to give people a backstory on that or no?
Which one?
Like his friend, didn't he die?
Yeah, so
Like looking into it?
yeah, but I don't know.
I think that's like kind of creepy.
well, yeah, like supposedly.
Yep.
I mean, I'm only going on what the kid,
Sure.
told me, and he was telling me, we started talking. He's like, I love the show, blah blah, and then we were talking about. He's like, I'm really into this stuff. I'm more in like the true crime.
Correct.
And I remember this time I was posting a lot on when this voicemail was going around too, and I was posting a lot on Twitter, Facebook, all that, and just commenting about it. And he's like, if I were you, like, just stop. Like, this is like crazy. Even some of the other people, like listeners, were just saying like it's just weird. Like they were getting scared, And then he was saying like he knew a person that was like really looking into it, like seriously doing some heavy investigation. Do I take his word? Sure. Do I really believe the whole thing? No. But then, yeah, he said he ended up dying. He's not really sure how,
Sure.
but he died.
That could be a coincidence as well. You
Right.
don't know. But
Like, what could you possibly know about this flight that would end your life?
well, there's like another thing that too I want to bring up. There's a guy who claims to have found the plane with Google Images.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
I don't know what to make of that. I could
I mean,
look it up and
the
pull it up.
NTSB ruled it out. They said like it was like an old image. But the guy like used Google Maps and Google Earth, and like it looks like underwater. Like it looks like a plane that's pretty shallow, like off Round Island, I think it said.
A lot of people too thought it went to like Christmas Island. Christmas Island was pretty close to there, and yeah, I mean I could pull up the article too. This is from the mirror.uk. I don't want to do any of this. Fuck that. But yeah, there was I mean I don't know how to believe any of this stuff because it does look like a plane, but it looks fully intact.
Yeah, it does look fully intact. And like if you believe like the debris that came up,
That they did
washed
find.
up, as of 2017, there's been 20 pieces of the plane that's been found on the western shores of like India, like the western side of India and all the islands over there.
Yeah, and supposedly stuff like the flapper, which is the biggest part.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
the biggest part.
The one that they show constantly on the news.
Correct.
Washed up. I think it was off of Africa, but it was more of a place that France kind of owned, like an island.
Sure.
And that's the most compelling piece. But if you talk to people, they said, yes, conclusively that they believe this was from the plane. But they can't say for 100%. It's almost like 99.9% that this is it.
Yeah, the experts say like, yeah, it's pretty sure it's from the plane.
So debris has been washing up, but
Who
is it from the
knows?
plane? And if that, yeah, like the whole thing where the guy found the plane from Google Earth, no, I don't believe that. Like that one, throw that right out the window for me. Anyway, but
Is there any other theory you think we should talk about?
well, if you believe like the message, like the creepy voice message, and like aliens, some people believe like aliens came down and somehow did something with the plane.
I don't think that.
No.
No way.
All right. So the last big thing,
Yep.
I guess we could really get into, which I'll share the 60 Minutes episode, like we said, and I'll share, the creepy voice, mail where the guy broke it down.
Yeah.
And we could also share, like just a message if people just want to listen to it again.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a murder-suicide,
The pilot.
the pilot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most logical explanation.
If we're not looking at supernatural or anything.
Yeah, supernatural. I mean, if you throw out Bigfoot, bring it into the caves. If you throw out aliens, you throw out, like, it's going to the moon.
I love Bigfoot, man.
Maybe Bigfoot was the one passenger that they didn't account for.
Possibly.
He got up there like Chewbacca. And just took it down. Yeah, I mean, that's the most logical explanation, the most logical conclusion that you can think of is the pilot. Here's how I would do it if I was him, which freaks me out every time I fly. Like, I think about this. Like, I think about, all right, man, I'm
But
gonna
supposedly
have to
this
kill
guy did it.
I'm gonna have to kill the pilot.
Okay.
If I was him, 38 minutes after takeoff, the cockpit's locked, obviously.
Yeah.
I would kill the co-pilot.
Okay.
Okay. I would pressurize the cabin so everyone passes out. I would put on my oxygen mask.
Seems like he did.
Okay. You turn off that transponder. He did.
Boom.
Now you can fly the plane wherever you want. Everyone's knocked out. You don't have to worry about anyone coming in or anything like that.
Oh, shit. Well,
But here's like my question with that. Like, why would you do this? And why would you fly it into the middle of nowhere?
Well, supposedly, like you said, he had a flight simulator in his house, and he had pretty much the same path that
Correct.
this plane took.
Yeah.
And it's interesting in the documentary thing from 60 Minutes where the guy talks about it. He's a pilot, and he was saying like that's his theory, and he's theorized that they were searching in the wrong spot because, all right, like you just said, he did everything textbook knocked everybody out, flying the plane now solo.
Yep, killed him.
And he was zigzagging for a little bit when he was over countries, just so he would go in and out of their airspace, and it would be like it would confuse them.
Yeah.
And then,
They wouldn't know what plane it was. They didn't know
Right.
who he was or like what was he doing.
And then he dipped the plane by Panay to kind of look at his hometown where he's from. And then
Which is crazy.
just started flying for the next 6 hours.
Yeah,
Imagine
6 hours by yourself thinking like, what the hell did I just do? Like, wouldn't you think about like what you just did? Like, I can see like if he was like murder suicide, like, all right, I'm gonna turn the plane around and crash it like right into the airport, like, done, like 20 minutes.
I mean,
but 6 hours, like you're thinking about like, all right, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that.
Well, supposedly, his wife just recently left him. They had a really struggle, all that stuff, which I was looking for some stuff. A lot of the news wasn't reporting on this, so I don't know what to make of that, right?
Yeah.
This was a seasoned vet, seemed to be having no issues at all. There was plenty of interviews where people were interviewing that were close friends of the guy and said, like, he was a straight shooter, he's a nice guy. I mean, the typical things that you always hear.
But like, all right, so like, look, for example, like what happened in our hometown like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
The barber. Remember hearing about him?
Oh, yeah, I forget the story, but yeah.
He hung himself.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I got a haircut from him like the day prior.
Yeah, tell that story. All right, so this guy was in the town, and the barbershop was around for a long time.
Yeah,
we would go there.
He was
as
cutting
kids.
hair. He was cut my hair since I was like 13 years old.
Right.
So,
oh shit! Now I remember this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, like, I would go to him like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, whatever, how long I would get my hair cut, and like would talk to him. He was a big workout guy, and then one summer he had to like help his neighbor like move like a log. He got a hernia out of that. It got screwed up with like his operation. Like he had like medical problems. Like from then on out, like he couldn't stand. They had to pull the mesh out, put the mesh back in. Then he started having problems with like the wife. I don't know the whole story there. Like some people like said like he was cheating on her, she was cheating on him, whatever. I don't know. They wound up like separating. They have like a kid, and he was depressed. Like you can kind of tell. Like, and I would be like, hey man, like anytime you want to talk or anything like that. And like I knew other people who went there, and they would say like, hey, anytime you want to talk, let me know. So yeah, cool, no problem. Got my hair cut from him. It was on like a Tuesday, I think. Wednesday. Or actually no. I didn't find out that next day, but I got a haircut Tuesday. I go back 2 weeks later. He's not there. Somebody came in the barbershop and was like, yo, I'm sorry, I heard.
And you're just sitting there,
And I
and
was like, what the
nobody said like.
No, man, no one said anything.
No one said, "Oh yeah."
His shit was all cleaned up though. Like it wasn't there.
You'd have been like, "Yo, where's my guy?"
No, man. So I Googled it real quick. Turns out, like, because I asked, like, when I sat down to get my haircut, I asked, I was like, what happened? They're like, you didn't hear? And I was like, no. All right. Well, he dropped his daughter off at school, went home, hung himself in the garage.
That's dark, dude. It's real dark. Well, I do remember it now because I remember I used to get a haircut from my buddy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about it because he heard about it. And he's like, "Oh, your brother goes to him, right?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh shit, yeah." But I totally forgot all about that.
So here's my so the correlation to this is 6 hours, bro. Like you're thinking about this for 6 hours and you're gonna kill yourself? Like, why?
If he was doing this, he had to be thinking about it a lot longer because if he had a flight simulator and it was going to that same destination point, and so it's not just 6 hours, it's probably like weeks, months that you're thinking about this.
Or like what I mean, you could maybe this happened is that he plugged in the coordinates of where he wanted it to go and where he wanted it to land.
And he just killed himself before that?
Yeah, and he killed himself beforehand.
That's possible. But here's the thing. Like, if you watch this one thing from 60 Minutes, which I'll share, because it gives a lot of good information.
Yeah, I watched it.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that other experts say, like, it could have been differently.
Sure.
But, like, where this guy said it was definitely in control of somebody. Do we know it was a pilot? No. Do we know?
Yeah, it could have been the co-pilot. You never know.
It could have been. Right? But supposedly they ruled the co-pilot out just because, I guess, prior to this flight, he was about to propose to his longtime girlfriend.
Yeah,
So
but maybe he found out something. You never know.
That's true. And
Like it was
and
really
they were also
dude.
they were also talking about like stuff where you could like now detect, because they were showing like security. You know, they always show security photos of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
them walking through the metal detectors because they still get like checked.
Yeah, they do.
And maybe
Well, no, they don't really they get randomized. They go through a security line. They don't get security checked.
and
though.
what
Their bags don't get checked.
yeah, what you were seeing them were just like patting them down real quick. Like it was like a 1-2 pat, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, maybe there should be something where you walk through and it can kind of detect like stress levels, you know, like heat levels.
Get the hell out of here.
Well, what if he was getting on the plane, right? What if he was getting on the plane and he walks through this, like, if anybody, passengers or anything, and like they go through this like heat thing?
I don't know. I fly so much that I can tell you who's flying for what.
Yeah, I guess the way you're dressed, but
no, but the way you act though, you can tell the first time flyers. You can tell like the guys who fly like a lot for business.
yeah,
You can fly like you can see like what we do.
yeah.
I can spot us like a mile away.
Or
like,
what about
or-
a pilot? Like, what if he's sweating? What, like, how would you?
No,
like,
you know like generally like the type of guy they are by like the way they're interacting with their crew, the flight like
you didn't
the
know about the
check-in.
barber?
what, dude.
I mean,
you didn't. You kind of saw that one coming.
well,
but
that's like always playing. You know, like the day after, you can say like, well,
Yeah,
this,
Monday
this,
morning
and this,
quarterback.
right? And then you could also just look at, you know, the same thing with like shootings or anything that people snap, like, oh, he's such a nice guy. You know, you always hear the same old bullshit.
Yeah, but
well,
they
there's
don't
so
think
many
about like
warning signs.
Yeah, they don't think about the warning signs. They think about like, oh, he's such a nice guy. Like he would do this, this, and this with his kids and his family. But you know, half the people don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
True, you don't, and you don't know what's going on in somebody's head.
No.
And like maybe some people just need to be talked to, you know, in a different way. Instead of saying like what's going on or like, hey
How
man,
are
you
you?
need to talk. Like, hey dude, let's go get a cup of coffee. Like maybe that would have changed things if you said that to that guy. Maybe if like this guy was talking to, like, instead of saying, dude, you need to talk, let me know.
But it's still weird how they didn't find the plane.
yeah. So
I mean, the Indian Ocean is huge and it is deep.
well, here's the thing, like getting back to the whole like scenario, right? This
Yeah.
guy, supposedly the fuel was running out, things were shutting down, and they showed in this
The
documentary
simulator, yep.
again that you can bring the plane back even with this, like it was going into the death dive as they call it.
Yeah,
Like,
you can bring it to so basically like a glider. It glides.
right. And
If the
almost-
engine shut off and like the nose dives down, right? You just watch it on YouTube. You're going along, the engine shut down and like starts to dive down, and it goes into like just a straight shot. Like I think a roller coaster going over the first hump and going straight down. You can get that up by using the flaps and everything like that, so it just glides.
and that's what they think this person did. You know, and like you said, maybe
well, that's why they think it was under like human control till the end.
right. Just because they think if it was in the free fall state it would have been disintegrated and there would have been like millions of pieces.
Yeah,
and,
so
and
like, they would float-
showed
yeah.
other flights that have done the same thing.
Correct.
So they were saying like maybe the flapper that was shown up, it was so huge and it seemed so perfect that the only explanation was somebody was in control to the very, very end.
I mean, they're only theorizing, but yeah, I mean that makes sense.
I
Because
mean-
then there would be a huge debris field that you could see.
That's all we
think
can
of,
do, right?
What's that flight? That TWA, flight 800, right?
Oh, that was over here?
Yeah, that they
Oh, for
pulled
Long
like,
Island?
Yeah, that they pulled like how many like millions of pieces and put
Yeah.
the plane back together.
Yeah.
But like if it sinks intact, like yeah, there won't be that many pieces that float around.
It's true. So that was their whole theory on this. And I recommend anybody doing it. It was only 45 minutes to check it out. It's going to be in our recommendations. But if you look at it, I think this is the most plausible thing. Like this guy, murder-suicide, he had a predestination plan. And maybe he did this instead of crashing into the mountain. So like people will still, like, it's almost like sick too to think about. Like, all right, this guy wanted to kill himself, but he also, you know, it's almost like, all right.
Maybe he didn't want people to know that he wanted to kill himself. Maybe. I'm just saying.
That's a possibility, right? Or it's also a possibility like where they were saying, you know, like, all right,
Now people are going to start searching forever.
yeah, not only that, like, all right, it's been done in the past, right? That people crash into the mountains. You could watch tons of videos on that, like just, you know, murder suicide by a pilot. You know, even like that co-pilot one that was really freaky, where like the main pilot went up to go to the bathroom,
Yeah,
and then came back and the thing was locked, and the co-pilot just flew into the side of the mountain.
yeah, that sucks.
So-
That's a bad day right there.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh about it, but same thing with a school shooter, right? It's
Yep.
always like, well, that person did 12. I'm going to do 13, you know, or more than that so I can
Well,
get
yeah, I mean,
recognition.
this was the biggest loss of life
It's one of the greatest mysteries.
in Boeing's 77 history, like 240 people.
Yeah, and this guy was just like, maybe it was a way to like, I don't want them to know it was me. I want people to think about it for years to come. I don't want them to find any evidence. Maybe there was something more nefarious at hand, like the military did take this plane down, or, like there was the shareholders on this, flight. I don't know. Like it's still a mystery, and
I'm sure one day we'll find the black boxes.
You think
somebody's
so?
going to stumble upon them?
Yeah, but how many, like wherever they crashed, how many miles, like deep is this?
I don't know, but
like some of the search areas that they were talking about was like miles and miles deep. Like some areas it was like 2. Some areas it was like they don't even know how deep it is.
Yeah, but like you can like sonar it, and you can.
All right, here's another thing which we didn't talk about. What about that?
Oh,
the ship.
Yeah, the ship that went looking for it. How it went dark for 3 days.
Yeah, it was just a private company that was commissioned to search for him. Right, they had 90 days to look for this.
And their incentive is like they get so many millions of dollars if they find it.
Right, and that was the contract. You're not going to get paid unless you find it.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden they went
dark for 3 days. Like
they turned off their transponder as well,
which is kind of weird.
Just because we know what happened to his plane, that it turned off his transponders. So now this,
I don't know what to make of that.
This ship turned its transponders off for 3 days.
And then there was a lot of public outcry and everything like that.
And they came out with a statement.
Yep.
That said, all right, we didn't want to get people's hopes up that we were just in this one area.
Sure.
So that's why we turned it off to like, just keep it hush hush. We thought we found something, but we didn't.
Yeah. So what do you think happened?
See, this is where like the mystery.
See, but this is where like this is like I love a good conspiracy, and I
do too.
But like this is where shit gets unraveled and like out of hand. Like because people are like, oh, that's a conspiracy because they did this. Like maybe they just did it because what they said they did.
Yeah, but this is also where like now you have to understand why conspiracies start. Right?
No, I totally understand it because I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, and I am too. And if you look at it, I'm not just saying like this is a conspiracy.
No.
It's not like aliens or, like the government. But
Loch Ness.
That's right. But you have to wonder like why are people so shady? Why are, why would you turn it off for 3 days? Like and then the thing is we're not hearing the full story or the full truth.
Definitely not.
Maybe they did find it.
Maybe.
And maybe they had to take it back because there was some technology that was on that aircraft that they didn't want anybody else to find. And maybe
it's pretty crazy to think about. But you'll never know that.
Nobody will.
No.
And just like we talk about, like the governments and, people do it for their own reasons, whether it's greed,
but
money.
Like you think about it, like people freaked out about that voice message.
Yes.
So let's say there is some new technology that they didn't want anyone to have because it would drastically change like human life as we know it.
Right.
Like people are going to get freaked out about that.
They are. But eventually it will slowly trickle into the mainstream and we won't even think about it. Just like you said, like when you're on the flight, you're not thinking about like, oh, where are we? Oh, we made a slight turn, but we're good. I'm going back to sleep.
Dude, I think about that when we're coming into land, like over New York City. I always think about that, man. Like where the pilot's just like, all right, today's the day. Yeah. I'm ready to run up there, man.
Yeah, and there's nothing like you can do. Like if you were knocked out, like if this is the theory, which this would probably be my number one thing.
Okay.
Where I think this is what happened. And what happened was that it was murder-suicide by someone on the plane, whether it was the pilot or the co-pilot.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I think maybe it could have been, there was the shareholders from Freescale on that somebody wanted them dead. And then the possibility there was some type of technology. The third one for me is some type of technology the military, wanted to keep secret or have for themselves. And somebody got the plane.
It's crazy to think about, and it's crazy. Like, I'm sure we could talk so much more about this.
You can. You just run around in circles because there's no definitive. Until we find the plane, we don't know what the hell happened.
Yep. Until you find those black boxes.
It's creepy, right, man?
It is.
But that's all the time we have. And I don't know, really, like you said, how much more time we can actually talk about this. But I think in the end, it's still going to be mystery until the plane's been found.
It will be found like sooner or later.
You think so?
Yeah, within the next 10 years, you'll know.
Really?
Yeah,
So what about the next 5?
maybe.
It's creepy,
I mean,
right?
it said Malaysia is gonna put up their final report tomorrow.
So we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
And we'll find out a little bit more, maybe. So let us know your thoughts. What do you think? You know, do you think aliens? Do you think it's the government? Do you think
Bigfoot.
murder suicide? Do you think it's Bigfoot? I don't know.
Bigfoot's in the caves.
It's in the cave still, man. But check out our Weekday Weirds every Wednesday.
Hell yeah.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and all of our information. Like we said, all the upcoming shows, things that we're working on. Hey, if you have a Halloween idea for our Halloween special for 2018, let us know. All of our information can be found at nightmare365.com. Anything else, man?
No, that's it,
That's
man.
it.
You covered it.
I did. So, yeah.
Thanks
Send
for
us an email.
listening.
Thanks for listening. And you know what? Until next time,
Stay spooky.